All right, welcome in everybody to the Can We Kick It podcast. I'm your co-host Mike, along with Chuck. Yeah,
Hey.
what's going on, Chuck?
Oh, I don't know, man.
You've
What's
been
going
you've
on with
been
you?
you're finally back stateside
Yes. In these United States of America.
after watching. I'm gonna bet Interstellar twice. I know once on the way over. Did it get picked up on the way back?
It did. And on the way back, on the way there, I cried like normally when I watch Interstellar. And on the way back, I'm like, I have a whole list of things I watched, but like during Interstellar, like, because on the way back, I wanted to stay up most of the time because I wanted, you're flying back. And you get in, and I got in at like 3 p.m, so I didn't want to sleep and then be awake all night. So I was trying to like just play Nintendo Switch and everything and stay awake. I did sleep a couple hours, which was good, but I was when Interstellar at first, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna play Switch and kind of listen to it. And like 30 minutes in, I'm just like, I put the Switch down and I'm like locked in. And then like at the end with the Tesseract part, and I'm like, okay, and I'm sitting there thinking as it's going on, like, how did it close up? It just as soon as she got the answer, and then did since like in there you can control like gravity can go backwards or through time, and the 5-dimensional beings, and like who are like, is it just them as the advanced society? They're going back to give Matthew McConaughey messages, and then they give his daughter Murph message, then for him, but like when 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 you sent me the thing we were chatting about, is like, you told him I like farming, like that part. And then and then that whole speech where he's like, he's holding her hands, like, you told him I like farming. And then they're like, they're like crying, and then he's like, I was your ghost. And like every time, like I'm like, ah. It's like, I don't know, it's so it's just like a therapy movie. I don't know, it's like,
Dude,
wild for me. But
it's the most profound part of the movie. It's unbelievable.
yeah, it's this episode of The Last of Us that we're going to get into in a minute had me thinking of Christopher Nolan and love and purpose and survive. Like, I started, like, I try to correlate everything back to that movie. I don't know why I'm deranged, but
no, it's relatable for sure. Yeah.
So it was,
Dude, speaking of tears, I mean, this episode of The Last of Us, fucking broke me down. I'll be honest, man. Like, I watched it, and I think as soon as I finished it, I texted you. It was probably like 2 a.m. your time, but I was like, dude, amazing episode. I was in tears the whole time. So good.
it was beautiful. And like it's funny because Dylan texted me when I was in abroad, and he's like, did you watch The Last of Us? And I'm like, no, but I heard it's amazing. And he was like, oh, it's kind of mid. And I'm thinking, like, yeah, probably as a 20-year-old, like, I would probably not like that one as much as the other ones because it's more emotional and story driven.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's like it's almost like a bottle episode of TV because it
Pretty much
focuses on the same. They don't really leave the same place except for the beginning, the journey there. But
yeah,
I don't know. It was just one of those get you right in the feels.
you could have just made that a movie and just put it on HBO, and it would have just been a standalone movie. It was unbelievable. Yeah.
Just have that. It was the same with freaking Murray Bartlett and Ron Swanson, Nick Offerman. Like, he has the best faces, like, not even just from Parks and Rec, but Devs, and like like, just like his work as a dramatic actor is fantastic. Like, he's amazing.
Yeah.
What would you call the movie? That, like, it was an hour and like it was over like an hour and 10 minutes, or it was over an hour, right? So like,
I'd call it Bill and Frank's Incredible Adventure.
yeah,
Whatever Bill and Ted. No, I'm just kidding. But
yeah,
I don't know.
no,
That's a tough one. Shit.
yeah, it's kind. I mean, I said this like the last two episodes, but it's like Station 11. I mean, this is. I know. I don't think you watched it. No, a lot of people haven't watched it, but
Not all of it.
like
Yeah.
the journey of Station 11 is like, is this like the mental, emotional connections that you find in a like a harrowing situation, like in those two shows, it's like the pandemics, right? But
Yeah.
um it's because you think it like, how are you gonna, it's like, well, we'll save it for when we get into the episode, because I had some thoughts on some things, but
Yeah.
yeah. So um but yeah, well, might as well kick right in. So
Yeah.
I
Let's
don't
jump
want
into
to, you and I talked about my European adventure already offline, so we'll spare everybody
it.
that. Most people that, you can follow my Snapchat story. You don't have Snapchat, or I don't have your Snapchat, so you didn't get to see. I kept getting responses from people, and like friends from college and all this, like, I'm so jealous, but I'm loving going on your European adventure with you. Like, they're like, keep taking Snapchat. So I was like, okay.
Nice. Yeah, no, I don't have the snaps, so I bet that was dope. Yeah.
Yo, I'll show you next week in the office.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Some pics, bro.
Yeah. We'll have to share it on the Can We Kick a Pod Instagram.
Yeah.
Going global, people.
Oh, next we got to get some swag,
Oh yeah.
and we can wear it overseas.
That would be tight.
We'll like, hey, is that Rye from Wolf?
Hey, it's Ryan the Wolf guy.
No, Rye from Wolf. Wolf. It's
Oh,
Ryan.
shit.
It's Ryan the Wolf guy. Oh, Rye from Wolf. It's like helicopters and just throwing
condoms. Holy shit.
Oh man.
Yeah, let's jump into the episode. So I can run through the synopsis of it and we can break it down. I mean, it's just a powerful episode. But we pick up from where Tess sacrificed herself at the state capitol building in Boston, and so Joel and Ellie are going to head to Bill and Frank's, and that's when Joel tells Ellie about how the government was trying to move uninfected people to quarantine zones, but if they got there and it was too full, they would be turned away. Well, instead of just trying to find a different place for them, right, and not be and cause more of a stress on resources and things like that, they just executed them, unfortunately, in the early days of the pandemic. And they're going through like the 2007, and goes back to when the breakout happens, and this town
2003.
2003. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so you see like the town is getting cleared out. They're all going with the government. And meanwhile, Nick Offerman is in his basement watching video cameras, and he's like, not today, you jackboot New World assholes or whatever.
Yeah.
So good.
Jackboot motherfuckers, or like whatever he said. New World Order. Yeah, that was great. I was trying to remember that because I was gonna text you that when I was watching it, but
so good. Yeah.
yeah, you
And
forgot, or one thing beforehand we got to
yeah.
see. Before that, we got to see Ellie, or maybe it's before or after, but when they go into the convenience store where
Oh yeah.
Joel hid stuff, like she killed her first
Infected.
infected thing, and then but yeah, but
Yeah,
what the other
Joel was like
point I
looking
had,
for supplies,
yeah,
right?
his stuff he hid or whatever. The other thing I think is like, is that really 10 miles outside of Boston where they
Dude.
first are? It looks like they're in fucking Colorado or something.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, that's 10.
I heard I heard this episode got a B plus, and the only like minus to it was that fact alone. It was like 10 miles outside of Boston, and it looked like it was freaking Yellowstone.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to Google like the map of Boston and go 10 miles like in every direction.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize Massachusetts had like mountain ranges and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Questionable.
It could be off, but
I saw
I haven't
somebody
read
Instagram post it. It was like
yeah.
10 miles out. This is 10 miles outside of Boston. And it was like a grocery store. And I was just
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I mean, I remember I stayed in Quincy, like south of
Oh,
Boston,
yeah.
which is about 10 miles, and it was like a town. But I don't know, it's west of Boston, so I haven't looked at the map. And I just watched this today because I got back last night, and so I haven't read anything. I've been like ignoring Twitter and everything all week because like I think on Monday I was on Twitter in the hotel and it was like this Last of Us episode like hit me in the like in and Bill, I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I
And
can't like
cut.
it look because I'm gonna be like, it's
Yeah.
gonna mess me up.
Dude,
But
yeah. Yeah. And I think we also skipped over the part where they're like on their way to Bill and Frank's. They see that jet airliner crashed on the hill. And
yeah,
she's like, can you believe like people actually used to fly in those things? And it's just like, oh, that's right. She was born like after all that shit ended. Wow.
yeah, this we have to remember in this that she was born after the
The fall.
yeah, after the whatever the start of the pandemic or fungi-demic.
Yep.
Um
Fun guy did.
yeah, so like every I mean the like, even in this episode there's another point where she's like astonished, and it's another one of my favorite lines, and it goes
Yeah.
with the hat you're on.
Yeah.
But where we'll say I'll save the part for there, but he's like she's fascinated by this truck, and he's like and she was comparing it to like a spaceship for her, and he's like, well, it's kind of a shitty S10, but it'll do, or hopefully it
Yeah.
can make it there, or whatever.
It's just a
It's just like,
shitty Chevy S10. I mean,
yeah,
it'll
yeah,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so it's like, and that's another station level comparison because the people that were born or were young right at the beginning, and they have this in that episode, the show, they have a museum of history like in this Michigan airport, and it's just
Yeah.
like it's like cassette player and just stuff that we all know, but that if we had like some kind of event like that you know there may not be that kind of stuff around
For
or
sure.
people
Yeah.
wouldn't experience that. But
No, it's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, it's 2003, right? So the government takes everybody away, slaughters all the innocents, even the babies and
that
stuff we see.
that was crazy because they were just like it's like Nazi Germany. They're just rounding up people
Yeah.
and killing them even if they're not infected. Like it makes I don't know, I guess
Yeah. Bill
it
is hiding in his basement and they're like going through his house. And
yeah.
he's like got a shot in his wall of like guns and stuff. And he's just like, come and get me. And everybody else is like,
He's Anne
okay.
Frank.
Yeah.
He's Anne Frank, like hiding from the Nazis. Like,
Yeah.
um,
It's
and
crazy.
yeah, and then you see like by the clothing on some of those that were rounded up, they were murdered, like which Ellie and Joel saw on the way up to Bill and Frank's house.
Yep.
Yeah, it just I don't know that part. I'm like, there's another thing that I'm sure there's a rationale behind, and I mean obviously for the show and the video game, but of like if people aren't infected, why wouldn't the military just have outposts protecting like they have the QZ zone, right?
Yeah.
But if they're not built up, why wouldn't they just deploy smaller units to neighborhoods? Maybe it's due to manpower or something. But even you could put a couple soldiers with, in different, I don't know. It just
Yeah.
I'd have to think about that a little more, but
It only takes one infected to ruin the whole thing, right? Because I think they said later, coming up, I think Frank talks about Baltimore. Like he left Baltimore QZ
yeah.
because it fell apart. Like it only takes like one infected person to ruin the whole thing. So, they're probably centralized resources, and that's why I think like it's easier. It's in the long run better to just kill everybody, so that way it's not a larger group of people that you have to deal with, right? Of infected, but damn.
If you kill everybody, then there's not going to be anybody left to get
Yeah,
infected, anyways.
there's not going to be anything left. Yeah, but
It almost seems of like kind of, again, I was in Germany and Europe, so I'll say like the Nazis just rounding up various people that aren't themselves to get rid of and keeping, like how do you choose,
yeah,
you know, who is staying, even just like when it first broke out and they shot and killed Joel's daughter, it was like
yeah.
the military's guys getting instructions. And I guess at that time they didn't have the thing to see who was infected and things like that, like they do now. Which was
Right.
cool that Bill had
Yeah, yeah,
one of those.
yeah. He had one on his hip. Yeah, yeah. So he manages right to survive after like 2003 for like 4 years. The power goes out, so he just goes down to the gas plant and like turns the gas back on.
That was
Uh,
great.
takes that boat and uses it as a trailer, I guess. Really.
Yeah.
um, he's got a
It's
huge like industrial generator that he's running.
yeah. I wonder if I guess he probably had that already as the Doomsday Prepper guy with that
I would
extra
have to
basement.
imagine, or the government brought it in, like when I don't know, but like yeah, because you didn't see him drag an 18 wheeler out there,
No.
a big 40-foot flatbed. Yeah,
Yeah. All right. I mean, they could have skipped that part, but yeah,
true,
it was,
true.
that was interesting to see it in, I guess it like whatever neighborhood he lived in or town, small town neighborhood,
Yep.
they rounded up everybody
Yeah.
apparently, because like when he comes out first, with his mask on and everything, like
Awesome.
it was great, and
Yeah.
no one's there. So like, and he doesn't know. I'm assuming he doesn't know what happened,
I don't think he
or
knows like that they all got slaughtered.
yeah. And I think, well, like to the extent that the rest of the world, well, he knows that there's like mushroom people because he set
Yeah.
all these traps.
Yeah.
But yeah, to what extent the rest of the world, I mean, he's surveilling around his house, but I don't know what other communication he has. Well, now he knows because after, I think in the beginning, he probably didn't know what was going on, and then 4 years, well, he know what's going on, but not to the extent because he was
Yeah.
hiding down in the basement,
Yeah.
and then by like what year 4, you see he has the fence everywhere and all that, but
Right. Yeah. He set all the traps, and yeah, that was amazing. All of his doomsday prepping that he did over 4 years.
yeah, no, I mean, it shows, hey, if those preppers, man, if something goes wrong, you definitely want to be with them,
Yeah.
because even though it's like a 1% chance something like that will happen, when it does, they're going to be prepared.
Yeah.
But
Insane. Yeah, and then so it jumps ahead, right? 2007, and that's when Bill is hanging out by himself. He's been alone for 4 years, and then his alarm goes off, and it turns out there's a dude in a hole. Thinking he's
yeah,
infected, he like rolls up on it, and then it's Frank, and he's like, "I'm not infected," and he's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like rolling up with a shotgun, and he like takes the like sympathetic approach and gets a ladder, and that's when I think Frank explains like Baltimore has fallen.
yeah.
And then you can see he's got the tester, so he tests him and he tests negative. Um,
Do you think that was like the first person, like non-mushroom person of 4 years to go to show up at his place? Because it almost seemed like he was surprised that it was a living person.
I would bet after probably the first year, that's probably the first real person he's seen. I would
Yeah.
bet like in the first year after everybody left, he might have seen a couple of people like walk by or something like that. Maybe gotten fucked over, which is why he tells Frank, like, you're not coming in because if I feed you, you're going to go tell everybody that I got a fucking Arby's here. He's like, Arby's didn't have free lunch.
Yeah. Yeah, like that kind of makes me wonder in the first, like, like, did it have the date of when he comes out of his house with the gas mask on, like seemingly for the first time? That had to have been like months or a year down the road, I would think.
I would assume it was like maybe a couple of weeks. They made it seem like it was like
Okay.
as soon as they drove out of town, he came out, and I was like, I think I would have waited a few days, but I don't
Yeah,
think they
see,
actually said how long.
I took that as like 6 months. I mean,
Yeah,
just like that he probably had enough food, and stuff to survive, like in his house.
Yeah, it's
But
possible.
and with the government coming, yeah, I wouldn't think it'd be like like the next day or a couple weeks, but it doesn't go into. That's where you could have the movie of this episode,
Yeah,
make it like an hour and a half and hour 45, and get more of that. I mean, it probably would be boring if nothing happened, but
you could make it
so,
worth it. Yeah, it would work.
um,
But yeah, he lets Frank come in right for a meal because that's all Frank wants is a meal, and that's when you see Bill like makes this amazing like feast, and it's I can't remember if it's like duck or it's
rabbit.
yeah, it's rabbit, right? And then he like serves the wine, and he can obviously tell like the guy has a taste for finer things, and then I think Frank sees he's got a piano, and he starts playing on it, and it freaks Bill out. And then kudos to Nick Offerman for choosing to get in front of the camera and sing a little bit. Now,
Yeah,
it was amazing. But then that's when we see like their romance starts. Like they haven't Bill hasn't seen anybody in 4 years, we're guessing.
yeah.
So there's this immediate connection, and they start a relationship. And it was blowing my mind how impactful like this episode was.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the way they sold that, like, because this is where like in my head when this part started and was going on, I started to think of relationships and love and like because a friend told me that human beings are one time because it's like you're gonna get remarried. I'm like, no, I don't think I'm gonna get remarried. Like, I could be by myself for the rest of my life. I don't care. He's like, Baptist guy is like, humans were meant to be with other humans. A man was supposed to have, it went on a little more detail, but it's like humans are supposed to have connection. That's what we like. I was like, well, maybe, but then in this episode, I'm like, okay, would Bill kept going for longer if Frank never came along, or was his love just because he hadn't experienced that love before, or like what, how do you define love or connection, or but that was the beauty of the story, was them randomly, or Frank stumbling upon the location trying to get to the Boston QZ from Baltimore, and then they had that moment over Linda Ronstadt, which we see Pedro Pascal, we see Joel at the end, almost like wanting to cry during that song as well that they played on the cassette,
right?
But yeah, it was like, it's some of these situations, like, would they be together if it wasn't an apocalypse, or
right,
or what, I don't know. It got me there. I was watching Penzi earlier and I was like, what is love? Like, what, what, because like it's the whole Christopher Nolan thing. Like, you do things for, and you see it later in the episode, like things that are done for the people you love.
Yeah.
So you're like it's one of the most indescribable things that we experience.
That's why you're relating it to a Christopher Nolan movie. Everything in his movie has to do with love.
Yeah, and it has to do with love, but it's like, but his are a lot like, I mean, but going back to Interstellar for a minute, that's where, like, what drives me with that is because it's like he's doing something for his kids, and even if they don't think that they're doing, if he's doing something for them, he's really trying to do something for them because of his love for them as a dad. And then, but then when love comes up in another part where Anne Hathaway's character, she's wants to go to Wolf Edmund's planet for love. Instead of statistical things, they go to man's planet, because was reporting better data, which
Right.
was fake.
Right.
But they make that choice, and shit got all fucked up. Where if they would have went to Edmonds, like that was actually the better, even though he was dead, that
Right.
was a better place where you could sustain life. But that's what it's love. Sometimes you can't explain. It's telling
Right.
you something that like data can't tell you.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know, but that's like, I don't know. And like, yeah. So sorry, that's my love tangent.
No, no.
Um,
No, that was good.
but it was like, it was cool to see like, you know, their relationship, and they were they were pretty much leading a semi-normal life throughout this episode, as far as you can be, because of
Yep.
their meals and their wines, and they were fixing up buildings in the town, and
Yeah.
you
The
know,
furniture shop, the
yeah,
boutique, and the wine shop. Yeah.
yeah, um,
Yeah, like how he was like so they got together, right? And then
yeah,
like a few years later you see like Frank like walk out of the house and Bill is like walking after him and they're just having like a relationship argument and
yeah,
he's like, I
yeah,
just want some paint on the house and mow the fucking yard. Is that too much to ask?
yeah,
And then he's like he like finally gives in. He's like, oh, by the way, I'm gonna do up the boutique and all this other stuff. And he's like, why? He's like, nobody's ever coming here. And he's like, well, I've been talking to some lady on the radio. And Bill's like,
yeah,
are you shitting me? Like, just as like as normal a life probably than anybody else is living. Just with
yeah.
them and living in Lincoln, Massachusetts.
I'm Bill and Blanca's Frank, because she's reaching out to people on the radio, inviting them over for dinner and wine, and I'm like, I just want to stay in the basement and
Yeah.
watch Interstellar and play Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
But yeah, it yeah, that was interesting that they made Frank made friends with Tess over the radio, and they invited them over for dinner, and they had
They're
a
like
nice
having a meal
outdoor.
outside. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and that's the other question is
And
like, if you're Joel and Tess, why wouldn't you just stay?
yeah. Why would you go back
Like,
to the QZ?
what's the point of going back?
Yeah. But I love how like they're at the meal and like Bill has his like 45 out on the table the whole time.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't trust this
He'd
fucking
pick it up
guy.
every once in a while, and he's like,
Yeah. Then he takes Tess inside and he's like, oh, I want to show you this or that, just like a normal like friendship relationship. And that's when Joel tells like Bill, like, we're good people. Like, you're lucky you like found us. And he's like, yippee for me. Like, you're
yeah,
here.
yeah,
He's like, I don't give a shit. And so they try to make a deal out of it of, they can barter and help each other, but not necessarily want that much from each other.
yeah,
And so their friendship kind of grows over a few years. But that's when we see like life go on. And, they've done some trading and stuff like that. And Frank, plants the strawberries for Bill and they have this really nice moment. Just amazing, like, relationship shit. Anything to add to that before we jump to like when Frank gets sick? Oh, well, they have the shootout. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just before like when Joel and them leave,
yeah.
says, hey, you should really trade with me to secure your fence, because there's going to be raiders, and you had to more worry about the raiders and the government and others once they discover the place trying to take it over, versus like the mushroom people.
Yeah.
And then we do see, later on, before we get to the other part, where the raiders do come, and thankfully has all the trap set, but you see that Bill gets shot, and Frank, like, I guess he like takes care, gets a bullet out. I don't know what like I couldn't somehow Bill survives getting shot in the, I think he got shot in the leg, but it looked like it was like around the pelvic area. I don't know.
Yeah, or like in the stomach or something. Yeah, it was a direct shot, but I thought it was funny because like you see them like sneak about on the compound and like shit starts popping off. And like Frank is like, what the hell is that? And he rolls over and like Bill's gone. I'm like, dude, Bill heard
Yeah.
them coming a mile away. Like, dude knew they were coming. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he gets shot, and then that's when Bill tells Frank he gets him inside, and he's like, call Joel, he'll take care of you. And he starts telling him like all this stuff, and then I thought he was gonna die, like then and there.
Yeah.
But he lived, and we see like the next thing we see is Frank is like in a wheelchair, right? We've had a time jump, and like Frank's in a wheelchair on the front porch,
Yeah.
and Bill is like out there with him, and he's gonna like take him inside. And so he's got like some debilitating fatal disease that he's struggling with to where he can't walk, and I'm assuming it's like ALS or something like that. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, and that was interesting because you often don't even think about that during this time, but they
yeah,
kind of were kind of living a different lifestyle than everybody else in what we've seen so far in the pandemic
yeah,
of the show. So they were able to act like the normal thing of going through cancer or ALS or whatever
right,
illness that evolved. And at this point we get to see that Frank is basically, as we know, like he's going to die from this disease, and he basically asked Bill like to help assist him, like to crush up pills and put them in a wine glass. So he just wants one more good day with him. Like he has to determine that tomorrow's going to be his last day. So they decide to get married. They go through the whole day together, and I was kind of wondering if Bill was going to go through with putting the whatever drugs in the wine,
yeah.
and then come find out he says like he put it in the whole wine bottle. Like,
Yeah, Frank was like, you put it in the whole wine bottle, didn't you? And he's like,
yeah.
yep.
And that's where kind of I started thinking about, like, you start thinking about love and death, and they're choosing, even in this time of like chaos around the world, they are lucky enough to kind of live their normal life that they want to live, and then make the choice of when they want to end it. And
Yeah,
Bill kind of, he leaves like a note that Joel and Ellie find later, but in his purpose when Frank showed up was, and that's where I kind of think of like, would Bill have given up at some other point and just ended it all out of
right.
like loneliness or whatever? And then Frank comes along, and now that Frank is gonna die, like he feels he served his purpose,
Yeah,
and his job was to protect Frank, and he did that, which is another, as we see later on, it's kind of a cutting, not purposely at Joel, but at Joel, his job as a dad and then as like Tessa's lover was
yeah,
to, in theory, protect them, and he's lost his daughter and Tess.
yeah,
And like Bill's like, his whole purpose was to protect Frank, and he did that. Now he's ending his watch.
yeah.
Like which was
It-
like, this is their whole story, which you could, it's kind of sad to see both of them go in just one
yeah.
episode, but it was beautiful.
Oh, it was amazing. And I like how I think Bill in the letter to Joel, right? Because Joel knows the codes and gets through the gate,
Yeah.
and like they find the letter and basically says, Joel, I'm assuming it's you because anybody else would have been fried by now
Yeah.
trying to get into the compound. And then he's like, they would have found my traps. He.
Yeah.
Like so Nick Offerman.
The way she was reading, the way Ellie was reading that shit was hilarious.
It was so good. But yeah, he basically says like after the world ended, he could measure his purpose by saving Frank. His whole reason for being there was saving him and creating a life together. And like Joel hasn't been able to measure anything of his own, up to this point for the most part. So like everybody keeps like reminding him, telling him like, this is your job, is to take care of her. Tess saying like, just save one more.
Yeah.
Like Bill saved Frank and like went out on their own terms, and which was so sad when they died. But like they left the window open so the house wouldn't stink, and it was really, really sweet, dude. Bawling my eyes out
Yeah.
watching it.
When I mean, for me, it's you start to think of like, I mean, this is when shows do this to you, and you're like, what is our purpose, right? And you see like, I mean, what is each individual's purpose, or how you determine your purpose, and then you know, you start to think of people that or whatever, that their purpose was, or their purpose was work, and when they retired they died, like
Yeah,
they didn't know what to do, or like their purpose was their spouse, and their spouse passes away and they pass away shortly after, right?
right.
Like, I think human nature sometimes gets so infatuated with the purpose, like singularity of purpose,
Yeah,
that when that purpose ends, then what do? Like, you know?
yeah.
So, and it comes with parents sometimes too, like that
Oh
your
yeah.
kids go off to college and move out, then you're like, oh my God, you know,
What do I do now?
what's
Yeah,
my life now?
yeah,
Like,
for sure.
I'm a mom, I'm a dad, I'm a parent. Now what am I?
Yeah.
Well, you're still that, but they're
You're
not
still
there,
that.
right? So,
Yeah. 90%
um,
of your day is shifting though. Yeah.
yeah. So it's I mean, as someone who is like college and high school age kids, that one is away at school and they're not around as much, so you're not, your purpose, like for me, never shifts, but what to do with your time,
Yeah.
it definitely changes. But yeah, it was and Murray Bartlett and freaking um
Nick Offerman. Yeah.
yeah, kick off from it. I just
Yeah.
immediately Ron
Ron
Swanson pops in
Swanson.
my head, and then I can't think of anything else. Like,
Yeah.
um,
Dude, they
but
were
yeah,
dunking on everybody in this show. In one episode, they stole the limelight in 50 minutes.
yeah,
They were dunking on people. It was amazing. I mean, Murray Bartlett's stock is so high right now. Welcome to
yeah,
Chippendales, The White Lotus season 1. Like, and now this guy's crushing it.
yeah, for sure. And yeah, and then Joel and Ellie come into the compound.
Yep.
And they said we already talked about Ellie reading the note, and then um Joel, they go to the garage and get the car. Joel apparently knows how to build car batteries, which was cool.
Yeah.
Um,
He had
or
all the ingredients in the
it was
fridge.
it's
Yeah.
crazy when he opens the trunk and then like there's no battery. And he's like, shit, and then you
Yeah.
see like the casing of it, and then like all the parts in the fridge. And I guess that's like smart, right? If you take it
Yep.
apart and you keep it from deteriorating, just sitting out in the sun or whatever.
Yeah. It's all a
Um,
chemical reaction, right? So if
yeah,
you separate the components, right, there's
yeah,
nothing that's going to deteriorate over time. Oh, it's genius way to do it. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and then that's where um Ellie's like, he's like, putting your seatbelt, and she's like, huh? Because she doesn't know what a seatbelt is. And she's like, this is like a spaceship. And he's like, well, it's kind of a shitty Chevy S10, but hopefully it gets us there.
It's got a tape deck. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it was, he lays out kind of I mean, they shower, which I don't,
Yeah.
it seem like they don't have hot water where they're at, or I don't know how often they shower, or they're allowed to shower in the QZ.
Right.
And then, but they're refreshed and they head out on their journey, and Linda Ronstadt plays us into the after show credits. So
So good.
yeah, it was great, man. Like, it's definitely, it doesn't advance the story
No,
very much, but
no.
like it was interesting. It was nice to. Did you watch the after the episode stuff?
I think I did.
Or the Neil Drunkman and the other guy were talking about how they took, like, because in the video game, I think Frank is already dead, and it's
Yes.
just Bill or something, and
Yeah.
how
In the video game, when they get to Bill and Frank's, it's just Bill there.
yeah,
He and Frank had an argument, and Frank just left. At least that's what
okay,
Bill tells you, right?
yeah,
Like maybe he got infected and died or something like that. And then by the end of that part of the video game, Bill gets infected and commits suicide. So they completely changed up how their dynamic is.
well,
It's so much better.
yeah, and that's what the directors said like, or producers, directors, I can't remember which one, said that like the parts they changed, they only did where they felt they could do something better or
Yeah,
special, and that's where this came in with the relationship there. So
so good.
I
Yeah.
was thinking like before I knew that, I was like, oh man, can I go back and play this part of the video game?
Right,
Like
right.
Bill and Frank having like dinner and wine and
Yeah.
putting up a fence, planting strawberry seeds. Can you play as Frank?
Just an open world like survivalist game. Yeah, totally. That's what we're missing.
I, dude, that is what we're missing.
For
Like,
real.
I would love to have an open world pandemic game, like where I mean, kind of. I mean, to me, like, and I'm gonna be beaten up by this if anybody listens that has better video game knowledge than me, but like Zelda Breath of the Wild seems like the really only kind of like super open. I mean, it has
Yeah, yeah.
objectives and all that, but you can do anything in any order, and there's not like a ton of video explanatory things, or it's not like a certain path you have to follow.
Yeah.
And that's what like it's even Red Dead Redemption you can do, or two you can do a little different, but it's still got kind of like a linear path
Yeah.
to get someplace. But like the truly open world, that's what they like, make The Last of Us a truly open world with like multiple playable characters, and like you could do whatever you want. You get to
Oh
make the
yeah.
choice if you're going to put drugs in the wine bottles or you're going to try to live on. You're going to hop in a car and try to find a hospital to get Frank treatment.
Right. Yeah.
Like make an open world game where like, yeah, every once in a while the government comes around your property or whatever, or raiders, and it's just like randomness.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there is a game I played a little bit of it. It didn't really launch that well. It's called Days Gone.
okay.
It was an open world like backcountry zombie thing. It was I only played it maybe like an hour, but it had a lot of glitches and stuff. That's why it wasn't as big, but it was pretty much based off of The Last of Us, just as an
Mhm.
open world concept. So might be something you look into.
Yeah, and I guess for some people, like if you don't have that purpose of a end goal, it may not be that exciting. But I
Right.
mean, that's why, well, like Breath of the Wild, there is still a purpose of an end goal. But like when I was playing on the plane, like I've got through like almost 100 of the shrines now, right? And
Catching up to you.
I nice, I got a bunch of shrines, but I like finally decided to go do one of the um divine beast, and I was doing the one in the desert in
Oh yeah.
Gerudo or whatever.
Yeah.
And I took me like 2 hours to get to all the control panel things, and
Oh
then
yeah.
finally got the big boss. And I played him for an hour and I can't beat him. So but I can just go and leave and come back
Yeah.
to that. Like, and
Yeah.
it's just so like I just went and got some more shrines, and I'm gonna go back and just fight him later. But that's
Nice.
what's cool about that style. There's purpose, but I can leave that and go back and do something else
Yeah.
until I want to go fight that again.
It's not a storyboard campaign, right? You don't
Yeah.
go from like one setting to another and you have to wait. Like it's just one open map, and
Yeah.
that is what I enjoy about open world games, and they are becoming more prevalent these days. But yeah, just need more games like that. That would be
Yeah.
sick. But great
Yeah. But
episode. Anything else you want to add to The Last of Us?
no, I'm just looking forward. Like there was the only point that I felt like on edge was at the very beginning where she goes down, where
Oh
she
yeah.
kills her first zombie thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, like I can't be on nerves. Like I'm tired, and just like I don't want to be unnerved. Thankfully, this was like the perfect thing,
Yeah.
because when she saw, I knew like when she went down there, I'm like, oh my god, there's gonna be a mushroom guy like in that little dust pile or
Yeah.
whatever, and it's gonna like bite her arm in the same spot again, like it's just something.
How
And
many
then
bites
like
does it take to get to the center of
yeah, of
Ellie?
Ellie,
Yeah.
and then like uh and then you hear the I don't know, the
Yeah.
Jurassic Park clicker noise or whatever. And you're like, oh shit. Like I was freaked out because I knew like when she went down there something was gonna happen. And
Let me check out this dark hole. Yeah.
yeah,
Fuck.
but yeah, and then the rest of the episode was like a different like world, but it was masterfully done. So it looks
Yeah.
like next week we're gonna get back to like the wildness, but
Yeah.
I think it's kind of seems like the and this is kind of I mean the Walking Dead and the Walking Dead kind of playbook too is you're gonna it seems like we're gonna have more problems with other people
Yeah.
and other tribes of people than we do with actual like
Infected.
infected
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point, maybe even to with the government and fireflies and
Yeah.
other stuff, but um, it's it's the living people that we have.
Yeah.
Like we're the infected, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
because the infected, their brains are mush, and all they're trying to do is infect something else.
Yeah.
Like
They have a one-track mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's humans. That's the other thing, right? With it kind of goes with society and what happens in situations. There's going to be a handful of people that are going to try to help people do all this. Then the other 90% are going to be like fucking survival man.
I'm gonna
And
take it all. Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to take everything. I'm going to prey on the weak because I'm the strong, or
Right.
like, and that's the negative part of humanity.
Yep.
There's the love part, but some of the negatives also by love. You're trying to protect yourself or your family, that you're suspicious of anybody else. And so I think we'll see more people problems going forward as
Yeah.
someone who hasn't played the game this far. So
Yeah. For
we'll
sure.
see. Any thoughts, final thoughts on your side?
Nah, great episode. I mean, they're gonna get nominated for an Emmy in the next round, no doubt. I mean, Murray Bartlett probably will. I don't know if Nick Offerman will. They're probably going to try to put their best foot forward, but
Yeah.
great performance. So that's on every Sundays, right? So the next
Yeah.
episode's coming up. It'll be out in 2 days from when we're recording this now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so Fridays, right, which is technically today, drops Shrinking. Now you said you caught up on the first two episodes, yeah?
Yeah. I watched, I guess the Friday when I got to Amsterdam, the first two episodes dropped.
Yep.
And then I was able to download them and I watched them. I actually watched them on the train ride to Cologne, Germany, because like it was a 2.5 hour train ride. So it's by myself and I had them downloaded on my phone. So I watched them and I haven't watched today's yet. So I'll probably watch this weekend. But have you watched today's?
No, I haven't watched today's. I really enjoyed the first two episodes, and just so people know, Shrinking Right is on Apple TV. It's a Bill Lawrence and Brett Goldstein joint.
Well,
if people,
hence,
yeah,
I mean, there's a theme to this, but
yeah,
they are the
hence
creators
our
of Ted Lasso.
yeah our take on it, right? It's people from Ted Lasso writing about a guy who's struggling with grief of his wife passing away, and people just taking care of everything else for him. Like the neighbor's taking care of his daughter. He's doing what, like Xanax and hanging out with hookers in his pool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus.
The beginning part of the show was really funny.
It was
Like
good.
it, and then but it kind of these are I found the text I sent to Mike because we were talking about it, and I basically did I text them to you or
Might have been teams.
yeah, it was Teams. I'm like, wait, I didn't find them in the text,
Yeah.
but no, it's real quick. You mentioned Bill Lawrence and his
Brett
wife
Goldstein.
is
Yeah.
Jason Segel's neighbor, who was
Really?
also on Scrubs. Yeah, that's Bill Lawrence's wife.
I didn't know that. And she was also Drew Carey's girlfriend in the Drew
Oh
Carey show.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
She was Perry's Perry's on and off girlfriend, baby mama, things like that with on Scrubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I forget her name, but Jordan was her name. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I sent you a message that said it seems to be following the Ted Lasso playbook, which makes
Yeah.
sense because it's Bill Lawrence and then Brett Goldstein. and then it's lighthearted personal misery overcoming grief. So yeah, I mean, it's his wife dies. I mean, you find out early. Well, it never really. It doesn't say much that she dies, but like you assume.
Yep.
And then it mentions it like once, and has a flashback of um, like them like kissing on a couch, or I don't know, some romantic moment.
Yeah, yeah.
But the daughter is dealing better with the grief than him. He just
He's
he
checked
doesn't
out.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and then Harrison Ford is his I thought it was his dad, but it's not his dad. It's
No, it's his boss,
it's his
basically. Yeah.
boss. Yeah, so it's like, but you find out like like he's having an effect on his daughter. It's he's not there. Like as you
Yeah.
mentioned, without giving away, he's Jason Segel, the main character. He's a psychiatrist, and Harrison Ford's his boss, the psychiatrist. But he checked out after his wife died, and everybody around him is taking care of everything in his life, so he can
Yeah.
just check out of the world.
Yeah.
But then things start to change.
Yeah.
So, or try at least in the
Yeah.
first episode. So
He starts to discover like brutal honesty may be the way to go. So he tells patients to like one woman to like leave her husband, and she does, and like everything so far is going great until like the husband comes along and like whips his ass at one point. Like, yeah, it's
yeah. By the way, I forget that actress's name, but she was on Saturday Night Live, like the one he
that's
says
right.
to
Yeah.
leave your husband. She's fine. Sorry,
Oh
I'm
yeah.
gonna say it.
Oh yeah, she is. Yeah. No, it's a good call out for sure. Yeah.
So, any other thoughts on Shrinking?
No, yeah. I mean, it's a good show. I think his like theory on brutal honesty, because he's also helping that vet guy like who like
Yeah,
beat some guy up at a bar. His whole like theory on brutal honesty. I don't know. I think they're making it go too quick. I want to see that shit play out through the whole first season, but like
yeah,
he's already like got troubles at the end of the second episode. I don't know. It seems with that whole theory. So, but
yeah,
it's weird to see like Harrison Ford just in like a crew neck sweater that's like pink or yellow or whatever
yeah,
it
yeah.
was in the shrink's office, and he's like serious, not wearing a leather jacket and a fedora, like swinging from a whip. It was really weird to see Harrison Ford that way.
Yeah, it's probably a nice paycheck for him, and it's an easy role, I think. But
Yeah,
it's you like hearing his voice. He's a good actor, and
yeah,
I think but yeah, it seems they're moving through some stuff quick, and I don't know, maybe because they don't know how many seasons they have, but to me it was just weird when they would go to the daughter's soccer game in the second episode, and like you haven't been around for your daughter, and then you're standing up on the sidelines with the guy who was out of prison, and you're like just like every other parent sitting down,
yeah.
like it's your first like game back, like just like relax and like enjoy the game,
Yeah.
and
That's a
yeah, it was
That's a
it was
great part of
weird.
it though, because I think Jackie brought up something similar. I was like, he just has no idea what to do for the most part.
Yeah, yeah,
So like this is him just trying. And of course it just goes tits up. But like I just love the fact that he's trying, and it of course they want to make it funny that he's out of shape and all this stuff and can't run up the hill. But I do love the jokes. I mean, it's a classic Bill Lawrence TV show where they've got jokes and funny, like he's riding his bike and he gets passed by those bikers and they're like, "Get out of the way, asshole." And he's like, "Suck my dick." Like, yeah,
yeah.
really funny
Well,
stuff.
well, that's the thing. Like in Scrubs, it was funny because it was just. I mean, I keep thinking like we need like a like voiceover from like Scrubs
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and uh Family Guy episode with how they describe Donald and
Yeah.
Turk and JD, but like we need the voiceover from JD, and but in Scrubs it would be like JD would be like, "Have a nice day," or like instead of saying like "suck my dick," but like because he's not,
Right.
they like Apple and they can do whatever they want, so it's
Yeah.
like um more aggressive, but it's definitely the same style. Which I mean, it's good. Like Bill Lawrence, like Scrubs was my jam,
Oh yeah.
from going on. Um, and I
I
still watch reruns every once in a while, but
I do like the reality of the show because it's like, dude, I mean, and it's also crazy because he's just like falling off the wagon. He's doing Xanax with hookers in his pool, and his like 16-year-old daughter is upstairs, and he's just like
Yeah,
blasting music. It's
yeah,
like it's almost believable, but it's almost just crazy enough that I can't believe it. But and then how he like his truck is out of gas and all this shit. Just funny how he's like struggling and how they're trying to. It just has this sense of realism, but
yeah.
I
It's a
want more.
little over the top with
Yeah,
that, but
I
I
want
mean,
more
so was
depth.
Scrubs, and so was a
Yeah,
lot of the Bill Lawrence stuff. So,
I want more
but yeah, it
depth and
needs.
consequences, you know? Like, yeah, he just got the shit beat out of him in the end of the second episode, but like, so did his buddy who was already on probation. So you telling me that guy's not going directly to prison? I don't understand.
Yeah,
Like,
now he's living with them. Like but
yeah,
in real life, he would be um, like he would still be in jail waiting
yeah,
like a 15-year prison sentence. Like, I mean, it's just
yeah, yeah. It's just a hyped up, realization. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how the rest of the season goes. The episode just dropped today. I'll watch it tonight. But overall, it's a good start to another Bill Lawrence, and good for Brett Goldstein for getting tagged on now as an EP. So
yeah, for sure. Anything else? I think you had mentioned you were watching a couple other things so
yeah,
far.
watching Hunters on Amazon Prime. It's about Nazi hunters, and Al Pacino is the ringleader.
Is this season 2 or is it? I
Season 2 just dropped, so they had a delay from COVID, so they just dropped season 2 like this year, or
okay.
like in December, something
Are
like
you
that.
watching season 1 too? Have
I
you watched it?
Yeah, I'm on
Okay.
season 1. I'm almost done with season 1. Al Pacino is hilariously crushing it, and it's got How I Met Your Mother, Ted Mosby is in
Mm.
it, and he's
It's
a
a
Nazi hunter.
it's a How I Met Your Mother themed episode with Jason
Yeah,
Segel like as
dude,
well.
it's got moments where it's really funny. Like he plays like a bullshit 70s actor, so he's got like
Yeah.
mutton chops and stuff. But it's a pretty decent show. And then, dude, I started watching The Bear on Hulu, which is an FX TV show,
Yeah.
and it's about a guy running a
Sandwich shop
sandwich
from
shop in
Chicago
Chicago.
or deli. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's Italian beef sandwiches, right? Like Portillo's. Dude, it's
Mm.
hilarious.
I mean, it was a lot of critics like best show of the year. A lot of the
Yeah,
podcasts I watched, it was like in the top 2.
it's
So
amazing acting. Like the guy Jeremy Allen White, who won the Golden Globe for Best Actor, like
yeah, he's
takes over
from
this. Oh, what was he
Shameless.
from? Yeah.
Shame. He was I forget his name, but I haven't watched the last. I watched like the first 6 or 7 seasons of the show and haven't watched like the last 2, but it was
Nice.
really good. Well,
Oh,
Emmy
yeah.
Rossum, the guy from Fargo, who's the dad in that show. Emmy Rossum's the daughter.
Oh, yeah.
She's married. She's
William H. Macy.
William H. Macy. Yeah,
Yeah.
she's Sam Esmail's wife, like the creator of Mr. Robot.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, the Bear is really good. Like he takes over his brother passed away, so he takes over his sandwich shop, and like their cousin helped him run it, and he's an asshole. And like, of course, it's like classic Chicago, so everybody has an attitude, and he wants to change things about it because he came from like a 5-star restaurant.
Yeah.
Where the head chef at the 5-star restaurant was fucking Joel McHale, and he was a
From Community?
asshole. Yeah, he was in the like little bits that you've seen him in flashbacks in The Bear. He's amazing. But dude, it's a great show about connection and family and how like their dad was an alcoholic and all this shit. Anyways, he takes over the sandwich shop. It's fucking great because I love like Italian beef sandwiches in Chicago. So like watching them like make all these sandwiches and like fight with each other, it's like, that's good shit. So dude, you got to watch it. It's great. Acting.
Yeah, I got it on my list for the next like couple weeks of solo bolo around the house. So
for sure.
There's some shows I want to catch up on.
I couldn't sleep one night and I threw it on and I was like, yep, new show found. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? I'm gonna give you my list of what I watched on the plane. I wrote this down so I remember.
That's all I got. That's what I've been watching. What you got?
So on the plane, on the way there, I started with Interstellar.
Of course.
Then I watched Tron Legacy.
Oh, I low key love that movie.
Same here.
Thank God. Yeah.
I love it. And I always forget about it until after Interstellar. And I was like, or no, I watched Tron. No, yeah, I watched Tron second because I fell asleep during it, but
Yeah,
I woke up and watched. I slept like an hour of it. Um, but yeah, I low key love that movie too. Is it
so good.
Jeff Bridges and
Garrett
uh,
Hedlund and Olivia Wilde.
Olivia? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's low key good. Like it's I don't know. I really like it.
Yeah.
And then I watched Fargo, um, the movie,
Ooh,
which is still one
yeah.
of my favorite. And then
Buscemi, baby.
yeah, and William H. Macy,
Yeah.
and but that was on the way there, so it was like an 8.5 hour flight on the way there. But on the way
Yeah.
back, it was like 10.5 hours. So on the way back, I watched um We Own the City, like the show I love that was on HBO. I watched like the first 4 episodes,
Nice.
and then out of the six, and then Back to the Future, and then uh Interstellar, and then I ended and then The Matrix.
Oh, nice. Oh, dude.
So
Such a great run of movies, dude. Back to the Future, can watch that anytime. Love the cameo by Huey Lewis. Um, and then yeah, The Matrix. Oh man, talking about that movie's what, 25 years
1999,
old?
1999 when the first one came out. I
99.
think it was 99 if I remember seeing it on the plane. But yeah, I remember
That movie
seeing
was
that in
so
college.
groundbreaking.
Yeah, I was in college thinking like, oh my God, like we are in the Matrix. That was,
Yeah.
you're like, this is where we're at. The world's not real. Red pill,
And
blue
like
pill.
Keanu Reeves was already like a star to some degree. Point Break, Bill and Ted, all this other shit. And then he's like, hold my beer. I'm going to fucking do The Matrix.
Yeah.
Stratosphere. Yeah.
Speaking of Keanu Reeves, one funny TV story from Europe, like in London, I had put on more TV in the hotel, but in Belgium and the Netherlands didn't watch much TV. But one time I was turning on, and it had the thing at the bottom like what was playing, and it was like Point Break, and I'm like, oh yes, I'm gonna leave it on here. And it was like the new fucking Point Break, and I immediately to turn the TV off and threw the remote at the wall.
Oh,
Like I'm like,
fucking hell.
what is this? Like that I never saw the new one, and even just the 2 seconds of it was irritating. And I think that movie, all copies should be burned,
Yeah.
except for and just leave the original. But
The
anyway.
only remake of Point Break that should have taken place is Keanu Reeves playing both main characters.
Or how
But
about
make it
this? Like, do what they did with Top Gun. Oh, Patrick Swayze's dead. Shit.
yeah.
Okay, you can't do that anymore. While
Well,
he was
make it
alive, they should have done
make it a Christopher Nolan movie and make it to where he's got a split personality where he's both characters.
it.
Almost
And
Fight Club, but not. Yeah.
no, but then they somehow don't meet until the middle, like Tenet.
The
There's
whole
some element.
movie's in reverse.
Yeah, it's a combination of Memento and Tenet, and then put it in space where they
Yeah.
communicate through gravity.
Robin Spacebanks. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Man's Planet. Like Keanu Reeves, like or Bodhi and the ex-president show up, like,
yeah.
and you see them come into their little hab and like start robbing people.
But it's like 40 years in the future, so the president's mask that they're wearing is like Trump, Biden, Obama.
DeSantis.
Dude, I think we could write this. Oh my
Yeah,
god, yeah.
let's do
it. George Santos. Oh shit, Marcus will like that one.
Oh shit. All right,
Yeah.
I think we've reached our inflection point of being
Yeah.
productive here in this episode.
No, that was good. It's glad to have Chuck back. Most people I don't think know, but today is our 1 year anniversary of podcasting.
Holy shit, it is exactly our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
Wow.
We dropped the very first episode February 3rd, 2022. So this was a great episode to have. We talked The Last of Us. We talked all this good shit that we love. So really glad to have Chuck back. We got to do this. Watch out for Instagram stuff. I think I got some throwback photos I can throw up of us podcasting, which would be hilarious. Yeah. Maybe I'll throw some bloopers out there too, because I got some like first episode bloopers.
Yeah, let's get some bloopers. Well, that's what we need to do is put together we've got your the technical. You're our tech guy. But yeah, we got to do a best of our favorite moments and some bloopers, and do a little special edition next week.
Totally. Yeah.
We got some time to pod next week.
Yeah, we got time. Yeah. But yeah, appreciate everybody for joining. You can always find us on Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod. Check out our link tree, man. That takes you everywhere. Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. We tweet. Chuck tweets. Murph. It's out there, man. It's our first tweet.
Yeah. What better tweet than you got to go back on. You just every day go put a quote for the movie. Like,
you should.
I'm gonna go today, and it's gonna be like,
I was your ghost.
I was your ghost, Murph. I was your ghost.
So
don't
good.
leave me, Murph.
Stay. Oh my god. Yeah, check us out, people. Yeah, tell people about us. We're always putting new shit up. Check out the blog. I've got an idea for a blog post I'm going to do here soon. So, check us next week. We'll have an episode. We'll be talking The Last of Us more, and I'll probably talk more about The Bear as I get more into that. So, maybe Chuck will, catch up on that as well. I think he'll like it. If you haven't watched it, you fuckers out there should watch it. So, as always, peace.